The group led by Old Kiet was advancing into the mysterious deep forest, a place known as the territory of snakes. They were crawling everywhere, but the most terrifying of them all was the king snake, weighing tons, the largest and fiercest serpent in the world. Yet this group of people showed no fear, recklessly entering to hunt snakes, completely unaware of the danger closing in. Relying on the map, the group continued to move deeper into the jungle. Sure enough, very quickly, they suddenly discovered a nest of snakes. Two companions rejoiced, believing this trip would make them rich, and began stuffing all the snakes into their bags. However, before they could celebrate for long, the long-haired man, while carrying bags big and small back to the boat, suddenly encountered a giant snake ahead. Before he could even react, the monstrous serpent lunged forward and devoured him whole. At the same time, the skinny man also met a tragic end, snatched up by the giant snake in an instant. Witnessing all of this, Old Keet didn't care at all, calmly watching the skinny one swallowed whole by the king snake. But at that moment, the beast seemed to sense something more frightening and quickly ended its hunt early. It turned out that an even more dangerous presence had arrived, the legendary king snake itself. Meanwhile, a circus troupe led by Bat Luong, on their way to Thailand for a performance, had unknowingly entered the deep jungle. They soon found their path blocked, and so decided to use explosives to clear the way. Unaware, they had blown open the very nest of snakes. As the explosion roared, thousands of snakes were blasted onto their boat, causing panic as everyone fled in terror. The snakes slithered into every corner, chasing after each person. A few were lucky enough to find temporary shelter, but Ailu was not so fortunate. The creatures wrapped around her. Luckily, the fool bravely saved the beauty in time, while Tiu Lan quickly used a pressure hose, washing them all away in an instant. Elsewhere, Bat Luong hid inside a toilet when he noticed a snake on the ceiling. Trying to chase it away, he accidentally broke a plank, sending an entire nest of snakes tumbling down. In his panic, Bat Luong fell straight into the river through the latrine. Terrified, he tightened his buttocks and swam desperately to shore. Just as he thought he was safe, a cobra appeared ahead, grinning at him. Fortunately, Old Keet arrived just in time to rescue him. At that moment, the fool suddenly collapsed in pain. Old Kiet quickly used blood to lure out the culprit. A baby snake had crawled into his ear without anyone noticing. Although Old Kiet repeatedly saved them, Tiu Lan still harbored suspicion, for clearly he had been bitten by venomous snakes, yet remained unharmed. How many bites would it take for a man to become immune to snake venom? To ensure safety, Tiu Lan advised Bat Luong to find a secure place and abandon the man. That night, as the captain was fishing off the boat, the dog by the edge was suddenly dragged away. Moments later, strange bubbles rose on the water's surface. Something massive beneath pulled the captain's fishing rod into the river. As he reached down to grab it, he was yanked underwater. Before anyone could comprehend the situation, forest animals scattered in fright. Old Keet realized the giant snake had arrived, frantically reeling in the line to everyone's confusion. But the monster wasn't about to surrender. With immense force, it flung Old Keet into the water. Still refusing to give up, he clung to the line, then seized the chance to spear the serpent. This enraged the beast, and it wrapped tightly around him, dragging both man and boat beneath the waves. Just when everyone thought he was finished, Old Keet miraculously survived, climbing back aboard. But then, terror struck. The enormous snake surfaced behind them, spitting out the captain's lifeless body. The monk was so scared, he wet himself and fled. the serpent gave chase, its enormous jaws gaping to devour them. Old Kiet charged forward to attack, redirecting its wrath onto himself. Yet he was no easy prey. With a few clever moves, he managed to outwit it. But the snake wouldn't relent, slithering into every corner of the boat to hunt. Everyone trembled, barely daring to breathe. Eventually, the fool and the dark-skinned boy were discovered. They panicked and fled. The boy rushed toward Tiu Lan, but the serpent shattered glass and lunged at them. At the last second, the fool blocked it with a jar. Disoriented, the snake struggled, and when it broke free, it stumbled into Old Keat's trap. Yet disaster struck. The boat suddenly caught fire. Though unwilling, Old Keat had no choice but to flee. Flames spread rapidly. Everyone leapt into the water to survive. Though they lived, their only vessel was gone. Now their only hope was Old Keat's boat, 2 days' journey away. Though Tiu Lan still distrusted him, lair had been stung by hornets. Without antibiotics within 48 hours, she would die. Since Old Keat's boat had medicine, they had no choice but to follow him. During a rest, the giant snake tracked them down, snatching the boy. Tiu Lan and the fool grabbed on desperately, but the beast refused to release him. In the nick of time, Old Keat intervened, saving the child. But none realized that parasites had already entered the corpse of the ghoul. That night, they rested in a cave. Old Kiet recalled how he once survived the king snake by hiding inside a coffin, which later drifted downstream to Tiu Lan's group. Seeing him constantly clutching his map, Bat Luong grew suspicious. It turned out Old Keat's true purpose was to hunt the king snake, the largest and most valuable serpent in the world. Catching it would make him rich for life. Hearing this, Bat Luong's eyes gleamed with greed, and he begged to join. Old Kiet warned him the king snake ruled the food chain here, devouring even its own kind. Bat Luong, unafraid, declared it was just like him, willing to sell out his circus troupe for money. Old Kiet was pleased. The next morning, the monk awoke to find the ghoul missing. He rushed outside and saw him madly drinking from a stream. The parasite had taken over, driving him insane like a mantis doomed to drown itself. Suddenly, the giant snake appeared, dragging him away. The monk was helpless, and the group lost yet another member. No time to mourn, they pressed on, but were soon blocked by a river. As they tried to cross, the fool sensed something beneath. A colossal shadow slid past them. They thought they were safe, but the cunning serpent suddenly attacked the monk, crushing his bones until he was dead. Now only 6 remained. At last, they reached Old Kiet's boat. True to his word, he gave lair the antibiotics. But just as relief set in, Old Kiet and Bat Luong betrayed them, seizing control and planning to use the fool and the boy as bait to lure out the king snake. Cornered, Lu sacrificed herself, using her charms to distract him. But when Old Kiet cut her bonds, she struck back. Unfortunately, she didn't know how to use a gun, and Old Kiet quickly regained control. As he prepared to kill her, Tiu Lan broke free and attacked. Together, the 2 women fought him, but just then, the giant snake appeared, lunging for the fool. Right as it tried to swallow them, another snake attacked Bat Luong instead. A net dropped, saving the fool and boy. Still, Tiu Lan and lair struggled against Old Kiet. Just as he was about to finish lair, Tiu Lan knocked him unconscious. They rushed to rescue their friends, but Old Kiet awoke, furious. Before he could strike, the giant snake dragged him away. In the struggle, lair was mortally wounded. The survivors mourned, but had no time to grieve. Suddenly, the fool was drugged with tranquilizer darts. Old Kit was still alive. He had even slain the giant snake to escape. Once more, they became his bait. He set traps, and soon the snakes arrived. But they suddenly recoiled in terror. One stubborn serpent was instantly devoured. The king snake had come. After dispatching the obstacle, it turned its hunger toward the three captives. Old Keat seized the moment, casting his net. But the king snake was no fool. With one struggle, it broke free. Enraged, it unleashed its fury on Old Keat. Meanwhile, the boy gnawed at his ropes, finally breaking free just as the king snake swallowed Old Keat whole, ending his life of evil. The boy freed the others, and they fled. But the fool was caught by the king snake, its fangs sinking into his leg. Tiu Lan quickly intervened, forcing the serpent to release him. The three ran, but the fool was badly hurt. In a desperate move, Tiu Lan drew the monster away, only to be ensnared by one of Old Kiet's traps. Before she could recover, the king snake struck again. She hid inside a hollow tree, clinging on for dear life. But the serpent coiled around, shaking it violently until she fell. At the last moment, the fool attacked with a tree branch. Tiu Lan joined in, and together they struck it. Seizing the chance, they fled. Then Tiu Lan remembered Old Kiet's trap. They lured the beast straight into it, and the snare snapped shut, ending the reign of the king snake. At last, the ordeal was over. The three survivors escaped by boat. And so, the film comes to an end. Goodbye, and see you next time. Bye-bye.